Hi, Selwyn. Why did you become a candidate, and what would you like to accomplish?
Well, I became a candidate because I've had a life of dedication to community service. I don't like what I see in the province right now. I don't like the fact that, we've got 2.5 million people without a family doctor. We've got a government that's got all the wrong priorities, a government that committed, just before the call of the election, $1.8 billion to healthcare, which sounds really great, but they spread it over 4 years. But at the same time, they were able to find $3 billion of borrowed money to send out bribe checks just before the election. A government that's investing $2 billion, which is more than the healthcare commitment. They're investing $2 billion to a luxury spa, foreign interest, and a government that invested $2 billion to get booze in grocery stores in a hurry. Those are their priorities. I think their priorities are all wrong, and I want to be with a party that's going to fix that.
And then I have a question. Are you or your party aware of resource limits, like the global energy decline and the resource depletion that we're facing?
Okay, so we're definitely going to have a greater demand for energy, and there needs to be a mix of energy. I think that, nuclear has to be a part of the mix. But, look, liberals got us away from fossil fuels. Let's remember that, okay? And then we had a government that came along and basically scrapped the cap and trade and got us into this whole carbon tax dilemma that we're in right now. So I am aware that we're going to need energy. I'm aware that more and more people are going to be relying on electric vehicles. And so, yes, we'll definitely be needing more energy.
Great. And so in terms of kind of the energy depletion, so we're going to have less fuel for things like industrial agriculture. And so how do you, and then as a resolution to both the housing and the homelessness crisis, would you support a human right to land so that people who want to grow their own food have that ability? They don't just have to go to the get made.
Oh, absolutely. And there are many people who live that example today. And I completely support that. It's not something I think I can do for myself. I mean, we have things like winter here, so you're going to have to rely on foods that are brought in. But absolutely, I think there are many people who are self-sufficient. They're very good about growing crops in the summer and preserving foods. I have a next-door neighbor who does exactly that. So yeah, I think it's great.
So would you support a policy on the provincial level, like the Human Right to Land or Land Protection Acts, to prevent land hoarding and speculation, so that we could have affordable prices in Ontario for the citizens?
I don't know that I understand enough about that whole subject of human rights around land. I think if you own land and you want to, use that land for your own purposes and live off the land, I completely support that.
And then I have another question that people online were asking. They want to know if you'd be willing to let the nurses and the doctors who were fired over the vaccine mandates come back to work.
Yes, I'm always going to let the science prevail. I'm not a science expert. I do think that we have to find a balance between protecting vulnerable people who are sick, who are going to hospitals, who are in long-term care facilities. These are vulnerable people. So I do think that they need some protection. But at the same time, I think that the COVID concern, keep in mind, when COVID came out, we knew very little about it. We were learning as we went. I was warden during that period of time.
Yes.
And so, we had to rely on the scientists. We had to rely on people who knew more than I. I'm not a scientist.
Fair enough.
We are beyond COVID now, so I think it's time to, look at what works for today. So I will always let the science dictate where we head.
Okay, so, well, I'm just thinking, like, scientifically they're not sick, and so it would just seem like they wouldn't be okay, but that's fine. And then what's your number one policy that you want to see implemented, whoever gets elected? Like, basically, I was thinking that whoever gets elected, they're going to look at who voted for who, and what's, like, kind of the number one policy that you want to see implemented by our great Bruce MPP?
So there are a lot of issues that people will face in their life, but I'll say this. You can have a lot of issues, But when you get sick, there's only one issue that matters. So for me, it's healthcare. For me, it's the fact that we've got over 1,000 people lining up for a family doctor in Walkerton. Disgusting. That shouldn't be happening in my Ontario. We need more doctors. We need a government that puts a priority on healthcare. Look, you can have fantasy projects if you want, but your priority needs to be on the basic things. We need good healthcare. We need an education system that's supported. We need some focus on the environment, and we need affordable housing more than ever. Mr. Ford promised to build 1.5 million homes. He's had 7 years, and we have fewer homes being built today than we had being built in the 1950s. So that's a problem.
Right. And in terms of the healthcare, would you support alternative healthcare or distributed healthcare, kind of like where people can self-assess and diagnose, or so something that would be cheaper to implement, considering that we have less energy to go around?
Listen, there are a lot of very good ideas out there in other parts of the world. Nurses and pharmacists play a bigger role in the healthcare system. I think there's room for that. I think we could expand the role of pharmacists. I know that sometimes I will go and see the pharmacist before actually going to the doctor to say, what do you see? Pharmacists are highly trained individuals. Nurses are highly trained individuals. My son went to the emergency ward one time, was serviced by triage and serviced by a nurse. Excellent service. So, look, we need to look at foreign doctors. We need to look at recruitment efforts. We need to look at incentives to get doctors working in rural communities. So it's a big mix, but it starts with a government that places it as a priority.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Cheers.
Okay.
Bye-bye.